So welcome everybody. I'm Jana Večerková, co-founder of real estate micro-investment marketplace called BrikkApp. And I'm very proud and pleased to be here and have the opportunity to talk about sustainable financing and especially with the focus on how the new businesses are doing and how they are thriving in this area. Now, I really would like to encourage all the participants to be active participants of this discussion. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please, if you can, submit your questions anytime. So it's been the same throughout the conference. We are using Slido, sli.do, and you can use the hashtag CEE Summit. Now CEE Summit 2022, sorry. What I have the opportunity here today is to have this wonderful panel that will be discussing what basically is going on with innovative businesses, how they can get financing, and especially the businesses that have some impact on some of the ESG goals, businesses that are trying to improve some and tackle some of the environmental and social challenges. Now, I think there's a lot of publicity, right, about the climate and other topics, ESG topics going on. But I really feel that a lot of the attention is on the heavy industry, corporations, big actors, and not so much associated with startups or the smaller companies. So you'll let me know how you feel about that, whether they are getting the attention they deserve or not. I also think that our objective here today with this panel is to talk a little bit about what are the good examples, of the startups that are improving the environment or tackling some of the social challenges, and if it differs. Right, the way these startups are financed, what access to financing they have or not. Now, this wonderful panel that we have here in front of us. I'll start from my right and closer this way. So there is Marian Gazdik, who is the CEO of GeForce. So he's the latest addition to our panel, and we are happy to have him here with us. Now, we will be discussing as well is a lot, about how accelerators and venture capital funds are going. We will discuss with Hristo, Valev, partner at Urban Impact Ventures. They invest in startups that are improving the quality of life. Then we have here with us Lenka Mynářová, who's a board member of Nafigate Corporation. Their focus is a lot on developing sustainable materials and contributing to circular economy in general. And then we have here Vaclav Gregor, who's a partner at Soulmates Ventures, which is an investment accelerator that focuses a lot on green and sustainable technologies. And last, but definitely not least, we have Zuzana Zamborska, a CEO of BID Human and a co-founder of Lumus Investment Collective, where they are connecting female angel investors with opportunities. So we have all those topics. We have a lot to tackle. So to start us off, I would like to ask Marian if you could give us an overview of what it actually means when we talk that sustainability is a driver for innovation. How do you feel, that this topic has become so important in the past decade or so?
Maybe even faster than the decade. To give you an example of the context of how technology is influencing sustainability. So, for example, today, 3% of world's energy is spent by data centers all over the world. And this will be in about 7 years, 10% of the entire world's energy. And this industry did not exist 10 years ago, 15 years ago, in such a big context. And in the same way, technology can be a big influencer of big problems. It can also bring solutions. So, for example, why is it important to look at innovation and startups with the idea that they can really tackle problems fast? If you look at the sequencing of human genome, when it started, it took about 12 years to sequence the first 1%. And then experts came together and were laughing at this because they said that this will never be possible to sequence the entire human genome because 1% takes 12 years. But because there is exponential growth, the rest of the human genome sequencing took 15 years. If you add 1% and you double every year, in 7 years you solve the problem. This is why it's very important to look at startups and innovation with the exponential scale in mind, because that's what we're trying to look at when we selecting which companies to invest in, because when they have scalable technologies, they can be influential globally fairly fast.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you for that. Now, Lenka, you have vast experience in innovation, sustainability. Now, if you could maybe look back at the past 5 or 10 years or so, how do you feel that the environment or maybe the business discussions around sustainability and innovation, startups, but those that do focus on sustainability topics, how do you feel has it changed?
I think the differences is so big. So, sorry, 10 years ago or 11 years ago, we have been starting our project, which is focused on utilization of bio-waste into the high added value materials. And there, on this time, no circular economy, no sustainability agenda, nothing. But the main idea of us was to develop something really environmental friendly, because we cannot use food, for example, like our competitors, if we can use waste. But 10 years ago, it was fully new. Now it's the situation is different, and it's very, very good. And Europe is a leader in circular economy, global leader in circular economy. So it's fully different than 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you for that. Now, with you, Zuzana, I'd like to focus now also on the, let's say, I don't know if second is the right way to put it, but the other aspect of ECG, which is the social one, and the topics of diversity, whether it is really in terms of age, gender. There's also socioeconomic aspects when we talk about diversity, whether it is in teams, companies, or more generally. Now, were there any changes and trends that you have observed in the past years?
Yeah, sure. Like when we talk about the topic of diversity and inclusion, like a lot of companies took it last year as a burden, like this is the agenda, we have to work with that. And now we see more and more companies who take it as an opportunity, because we know there is so many statistics showcasing that the diversity improves, the innovation, scaling the business. And the businesses who are diverse are much more long-termly like permanent. And I will focus more now also on the gender diversity, as is the main topic of Lumos. And when we see on how is it changed within angel investing, which is also our main topic, is when we check like 10 years, the number of female angels doubled by 100%. So the growth was 100%, but it's still just 15% in the CEE region. Also on the side of the venture capitals, there is only 92%, 93% are male founders. But we see like more and more women entering the space and bringing the diversity, because why is needed? Because there is the wall chain, right? Once we have more female investors, we have more female founders, and we have more products from female market. And when we look also on, and there is, based on the Harvard Business Review last research, there is a kind of like funny to say that there is so-called daughter effect. That the more and more venture capitals are having a woman as a female as a partner, but there are the venture capitals where the male partners have daughters. So it's changing, but the change is flat. So we actually have to have more and more projects that are improving it. And on the other side, when we see on the startups that are coming, I would say that it's not just the category of social business, but more and more startups have the agenda of SDGs within their business themselves. For example, recently we were evaluating one school, it's elementary school, where SDGs were within the concept of the school, that the children will be working with it. Or we received one EdTech that were actually showcasing in their pitch deck how they are decreasing the carbon dioxide effect. So I think that it's encouraging that it's must, not just for the social business or sustainable business or climate tech, but each business, each startup that is currently entering the market and innovating has to have this aspect within their business.
Mm-hmm. All right, definitely. Now let's focus a little bit more on the topic of financing sustainable innovation. Hristo, so you are investing in startups that do have impact on urban life, I believe. Now, are there more startups interested in this area recently? Has it changed? If you can, again, look back at the past 5 years or a decade or so, and let us know how that environment has been shaping from your perspective.
Thanks, Jana. Yeah, I think we had a very special year. Last year, we as a global society, it has been a record year in terms of money put into climate technology. Like 40 billion of US dollars have entered deals, venture capital backed deals of climate technology with more than 600 different transactions. Sorry about that. Lion's share being taken by energy, mobility, and food and water sectors. So definitely climate tech is gaining more attention. There are very interesting things coming up in terms of innovation. What drives the innovation in this area for me is the demand for climate tech solutions. And this demand is influenced by two factors, at least. First one is regulations. Regulations changing towards, putting requirements on companies and the society as a whole to really take care about the environment and also about other aspects of sustainability. And the top-down factor is the changing consumption paradigm, if you will. The changing behavior of consumers and also business. People start to care more about their own carbon footprint. They start to care more about sustainability, and that is driving demand for climate tech solutions. Yeah, I'm very positive about that those trends will be persisting over time. And we'll see many more record years in terms of money flowing into climate and sustainable tech.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. Now, would it be a similar experience for you, Vaclav, from your perspective? Has there been a growing demand here, either in the Czech Republic or in Europe? Are you getting more applications from startups? How's it going for you?
We are focusing on 8 streams, and they are all in sustainability or purpose profit-driven startups. So all of them, or most what is coming to us, is actually fits this focus. And last year was definitely a record year when we were analyzing data. Even compared to the traditional startups, the amount of funding is increasing in the sustainability sector in comparison to the traditional one. And it slowed down in February a little bit. Hopefully it will start picking up, and we definitely want to see more innovations here locally in Czech Republic and in the CEE region that we can support in these sectors, whether it's energy, food, agriculture, or more towards the water and air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. So thank you everyone for sharing your first thoughts on this topic. Now, I'd really love to talk a little bit more about what are both the opportunities and challenges for startups who focus on sustainability in one way or another. And I think what would be also good is to somehow define them. Right? What are these startups? What do we mean by it? That there is a positive impact. I mean, there can be, so many different ways how that is defined. So if I can maybe stay with you, Vaclav, for a moment, what does it mean? How do you imagine a startup that has positive impact? Do you have, maybe any specific criteria of how you evaluate that?
When we are doing due diligence, we have certain criteria that we look at, but mainly there has to be a need in the society for what the entrepreneur is working on right now. Right? In the past, we've seen with growth of the .com boom and the iOS boom, we've seen a lot of apps that weren't really helping, and it created a lot of opportunities, but it isn't solving all the big issues that we are talking about. So there has to be a purpose, and I think it's great that a lot of the venture capital groups are starting to realize that it's not just about the profit, and it's also about the purpose. While it's very difficult for them to really do the due diligence and to really analyze how exactly they are helping, I think it is changing. And for us, there has to be something that is solving one of the criteria that we have in the 8 streams that we've decided to pick. And right now, I think we can see one of the biggest ones, and that's energy. Right? We see that the energy sector in Europe is not sustainable. So it's very easy, I think, to measure in this area. However, there are a lot of issues that are associated with these type of businesses. Probably we'll talk about it later, and that's oftentimes the beginning of the funding.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yep.
If I may, we have a simple way of dealing with it, how we define that, because it must be measurable and easily to see. Today, around 35 to 40% of companies or startups can be identified as sustainable in some aspect. Mm-hmm. The way we look at it, because we purely focus on climate technology. The companies we see as climate technology companies are companies which have scalable technologies which can help reduce global greenhouse gas emissions. It's easy to identify or not, but it must be measurable. That's why this is the way we look at it. It's clearly specifiable.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, that's great. Now, Hristo, you also have?
Yeah, I do agree fully with that. You can have climate tech in each and every sector, as long as it, helps towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions. You can have it in agriculture, you can have it in energy, you can have it in transport, you can have it in water, everywhere. As long as it really helps in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Mm-hmm. So it's not only energy.
Great. Now, Lenka, some of these topics are actually what you are working on. So how has it been for you, raising financing? Was it the biggest hurdle? Were there maybe bigger hurdles? Would you maybe have done anything differently? Do you feel that it's now more difficult, easier? How has it been going for you?
Yeah, it's a crucial issue. It's a crucial topic. But I would like now say more about quantification of impact, because this is key precondition for money. And in my business, it's life cycle assessment or product environmental footprint. And life cycle assessment is including carbon footprint and greenhouse emissions, but definitely without record about your sustainability, without hard data, you cannot achieve anything right now. So it's necessary to qualify impact as deeply as possible. And life cycle assessment right now, it's only one global approach how to quantify the environmental impact globally and comprehensively. comprehensively. And regarding headless, from my point of view, we have two big obstacles right now, and the first is mindset. We discussed it before this session. Right now, I have been managing project in the US accelerator with the biggest companies like Anheuser-Busch and Colgate-Palmolive, and I can see totally different mindset in the US. This is not about discussion, this is about doing something, and this is the fastest way from point A to point B. And this is not typical for Europe. So the first is positive mindset and create something new, and time is money. So it means that it's necessary to create new solution as soon as possible. So this is the first point of view, and the second point of view is missing ecosystem, because Czech Republic is the great exemplar. We have excellent IT sector. We have a lot of IT innovations, and why? Because we have IT ecosystem. But for example, my projects are projects in biotechnology sector, and in this area there is no ecosystem. So it's necessary to create ecosystems, not only investors or only startups. You need a lot of supports. You need industry experts. You need scientists. You need international cooperation. You need a lot of supports for creation innovation. And this is missing. This is missing in the Czech Republic, in Europe, and without these ecosystems, we cannot have innovations or global innovations. It's not possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we discussed just before that sometimes even just sharing a positive thought or a bit of encouragement can do a really, really great deal. Is that an experience of the others as well? Do you feel that there is still this huge gap between whether it is, us as in Czech Republic, CEE, Europe versus US, or do you feel that maybe it's narrowing?
Definitely. Or if you want to speak. I've spent some time in the US, I've done business there, and you can see things, it's getting done quicker. Mm-hmm. Like they don't wait around, they don't talk about it, they just get it done. If it doesn't work, they go again, they try again. So it's very different, and I think they have the go-getter attitude, where here it's the Central European mindset is more like slower. We want to think it through. We want to make it perfect. We don't want to take the risks. So it's definitely very, very different. And also the support, I think, with the ecosystem from maybe government or partly government institutions. It's getting better, but in the past couple of years, it definitely wasn't there. So we need to maybe speed it up a little bit.
If I may add, from my experience, my background is expanding startups across Europe and also to the US market. In Europe, I mean CEE, Western and Nordics. And surely, while living in the US, the support there and talking about the mindset, as you said, getting that quickly, and also the mindset about mistakes is changing here also. But there, if your one business doesn't work, the people start to do another business, and it's completely fine. Here, it's coming here as well, but here is more don't talk about the failures, but failures, it shouldn't be failure, but something we learn from. And also the awareness and mindset, and again, I will go back more to the diversity and gender diversity. There is kind of is the topic that is discussed there for 10 years already, and here is the topic coming, and we are currently raising the effect, and really once we don't change the committee that is selecting, the startups and innovations, then we don't change the results, so which startups are in the end funded and supported. And maybe I will add about we are talking about innovation among startups, but also the investing ecosystems and mainly venture capital should change and innovate. Recently, I don't know if you know about the venture capital Sequoia, they changed their investment cycle from 10 years to 50. That helps startups not just to bring the result as fast as possible, but give them better space. And also for Sequoia, it helps them to work with them, to focus on the impact, because all of the founders, from my opinion, what we are meeting, they want to have their impact, not just like in the climate, but generally, they don't want to have just business already, but they want to have an impact. And with coming with the Generation Z, it's more and more, like they don't want work for company, but with company with impact. So we surely also should change the aspect of the investing. And what we are, for example, trying with democratize in angel investing. In our network, the minimal ticket is 5,000 euros, which is, I don't want to say like less money or few money, but like it's democratizing, because that's about that, because we are telling people, once you invest as an angel investor, you have to diversify your portfolio, but how if people don't, if we don't democratize the amount of money that should be invested into startups. And that will also bring a lot of innovation.
To add, if the question is about how do we speed up the pace of companies, the way we try to look at it, and you also ask a question about the funding, so the fundraising is hard, but what we share with our companies, they know it's the easiest thing they will do, because it's just the start of them to start working. And the way to remotivate and re-engage startups is we don't see startups as making mistakes, because it's just the iterations. They do iterations and they iterate into the success. They find a way eventually. But what they need to do, they need to do enough of iterations until they find a way. So the way to speed up the process of startups is we work with them on a weekly sprints of iterations, and if you have 50 iterations per year, there's a very high chance that you're going to find a way to make it work. But if you do an iteration once per quarter, it's a much slower chance. But this is the way how we try to readjust the company's mindset to make sure they can be focused on having quick wins, at least on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes even the terminology, isn't it, right? Talking about iterations versus you sort of, doing something for a while and then giving it up and doing something else, right? Which someone could perceive as a small failure. Yeah, thank you for that. Now, we have talked about, getting maybe the first financing. Now, do you feel that, especially for the companies who focus on some environmental goals, is it any different when they are trying to raise bigger financing, scale-up financing, Series A type of financing? Does it differ between them and, any other startups?
I don't think so. It's all about what they offer, what is their growth strategy, how valuable is their proposition, is there demand for that proposition, and to whom they're offering or submitting their pitch decks and investment proposals. If they carefully select the type of investor, it won't take long. What I mean is that if you approach a sustainable investment company or an impact investor, they know their job. So it's going to take less time than if you just shop around, throwing away your pitch deck and waiting for the right investor to really like you. Yeah, what Zuzana said just is, there is a term for that. It's called patient capital. It shouldn't be too fast for both the investor and the company to look for, selling out the business to someone else. It takes time. There are things to be proven, not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of impact generation, impact measurement, all this important stuff. And impact investing is a relatively new approach within the broad private equity and venture capital asset class. It's, I think, around 10 years or more has been with us. On the one side, it's the normal VC type of investing and profit seeking. for the investors in the fund. Like we're obliged to pay back the capital to our investors, pay it back with a decent return, but there's more to that. And the additional thing is that purpose. That social or environmental return that we are also bringing together with the financial one. And it's been already proven for all these 10 years or more that this is possible. And not only possible, but this is the relevant way to transform the traditional investing.
Maybe a quick comment to add to that. It's a double-edged sword because on one hand, impact investing has been cursed by being seen as not bringing enough returns. Yeah. What we see now, especially in climate technologies, we see a strong demand. As we already heard it here before, this means these markets will be returning very, very healthy capital. It's worth investing in. And so the good news is there's enough capital, especially focused on impact and climate. The second and the opposite side is, and that's the curse, is that the biggest VC funds like Sequoia, Andreessen Horowitz and so on, they are not there yet mentally that these climate tech companies will bring strong returns. And it's going to take some time for them to readjust to this environment.
Mm-hmm. If I may add, like from the angel investing perspective, we see in our club there is 350 plus women, and we see huge demand from them. And as I already said, not just in the climate tech vertical, how to call that, but in each vertical they are from many different verticals. But in each vertical, when they want to invest their money in, they are searching for some sustainability and innovation. And they are really open and willing to invest. And yes, sometimes, as already was said, we really have to change the mindset, because when we ask them sometimes more deeper, they feel, oh, it can be like non-for-profit, but it's that the mindset we have when we say like impact, that there is like this NGO mindset that should be completely changed, because we should take them as a normal business and not business as such. Mm-hmm. And that's all what we need to do also among the huge awareness among the network and investing ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, I would like to thank both of you. And Marian, he had to leave us as he could just join us for the first part of the session. But I think he raised an important point there, and that is the topic of the returns and the sort of expectancy period, of when the returns do happen. So do you then need to maybe work with different type of investors? Do you need to provide more explanations? How is it going for you both, on the side of you providing the funds and you possibly raising the funds?
So regarding me, so we need money, so we need raising money. Now we see new trends because the whole society is in turbulence. Everything is in turbulence and changing very fast. And right now we see that, for example, in countries like Singapore or Japan are establishing new investment funds with focus on circular economy only. And in the US, it's very similar, because environmental impact or climate changes, there are everything right now. So from investors' point of view, crucial issue is evaluation of the solution. And you need very deep knowledge for evaluation, and it's not possible to do generally. So from my point of view, it's necessary to look at for the right investors with right focus, and it's definitely not general. So because we are part of circular economy, our communication with investors from this sphere, which are focusing on circular economy, is much easier than VC fund, standard VC fund. So it's from my point of view.
Mm-hmm. Well, what brought both of you to this area? How did you decide, to focus on startups that have this impact?
We do it two-dimensionally, if I can say. One is the business side, and there's a normal approach. You look at the scalability, you look at the business model, how scalable it is. You look at the team, of course. The team is extremely important in private equity and venture capital, because you're backing a team, not just the idea or the fancy tech that has been done in the garage or in the lab. So all these normal things, like the things that the normal VC will do. And then is the impact side. On the impact side, what we are focusing on is first the materiality of impact. The way we define it is the size, the scalability of impact, and the duration, how long it will be there, even after we exit the company. And then is the additionality of impact. Additionality means that we look whether this specific solution or technology contributes alongside other contributing factors of the environment, which are uncontrollable. For instance, favorable government policy or other people trying to do the same. Whether this additional contribution is sizable enough. And then, for instance, our fund is focused on urban sustainability. We have our goals aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. We focus particularly on 5 of the 17 SDGs. Those 5, we believe, describe and capture best the urban sustainability agenda. Those are number 6, which is water, number 7, clean and affordable energy, number 9, innovation and infrastructure, number 11, sustainable cities and communities, number 12, responsible consumption and production. We also look at contribution to 2 other sustainable development goals, which are the climate action, where we track and monitor the carbon footprint of each technology, each product, and that we will invest in. And the other one is the inclusiveness of growth and decent work conditions. And we also track try to identify in the beginning a potential negative impact that could be there on any of the 17 SDGs. If there is such, we set targets for its decreasing over time. That's the way we approach the impact side of the business when we evaluate it.
So would that be similar for you? Do you have maybe also, some standardized set of metrics when it comes to the same topic?
We do have a process in due diligence. I think that's maybe why it's so difficult for a lot of venture capital groups to invest in these type of projects, whether it's just health tech or it's something in the entire sustainability. And we look at the founder, at his experience, at his teams, and then when we are analyzing the company, we also analyze its impact. However, we do not seek a company that's already perfect, that has to have hit all the goals that we have. There has to be some type of mission that's focused on sustainability. It has to fit our 8 streams, and if it does, then we are happy working with that founder, and during the acceleration program, helping him to standardize, helping him measure it, create a better SDG strategy. So it doesn't have to be there at the beginning. We focus on seed stage and post-seed stage. So a lot of times these companies, they are not perfect. They are just getting started, and they don't have all the processes handled.
Mm-hmm. Great. So we focused a lot on how to improve the ecosystem and how to think about the financing. Now, in your experience, would there be anything that the startups themselves can do better? Something that you would either advise a younger self, or that you are advising to your startup founders? Some mistakes that you see that might be repeated and that you feel can be relatively easily, now nothing's ever easy, but relatively easily avoided?
Maybe I can start. I don't think that there are mistakes. There are just lessons. So I think we here in Czech Republic, we need to learn to speak more about the failures. I think oftentimes founders make a mistake of focusing too much on the product and not enough on the customer or on the market. Now, it is probably more difficult in this area, while I do agree completely that it's very similar as a regular startup. There is one difference, and that's the research phase. If you're working on a mobile app that's designed to manage your day, you don't have to spend that much time in the research phase. If you're working in health tech, you're developing a new gadget, for example, that will eliminate the use of pharmacy in that given area, describing one of the startups that we invested in, there are years and years of research and development. So you need a lot bigger runway before you go to the market. But even though this is true, I think the big mistake across all areas is not enough focus on how exactly am I going to get this product onto the market, if we are speaking in the early stage.
Mm-hmm.
If I may add from us, like you were saying a lot about that it's on founders, and in angel investing is really just like really focusing on founders, because as it was said, also in later stage they can change, but sometimes they are approaching us just with the idea. And what we are trying to help them, and we usually said them, yeah, that's we like the idea, but come later on when you have some traction. It will be much better conditions for you, like for getting the angel investing, and also like it will be much better for investor because they will better find the investor founder match. So for us, it's really getting some of the traction, some sign-ups, some like website where they can or create some community. It really depends on the product. And surely I agree with the launching the product or product market strategy, like how to do it. And what we all often see when they are coming to us, maybe in these later stage ones, we return them, come with some results. It's great to have in your mind from day one that it should be a global product, but sometimes they do mistake that they launch on more markets at once. And that's really not helping them and guiding them, because firstly, they should focus more on developing the product and had some criteria. Yeah? In this particular with this criteria, we know that there is a product market fit, and this market is for us, like working. And then surely we can check the other markets, but what we see as mistakes often that they started to focus, we had one pet tech startup that was focusing on sustainability based on the production and packaging and all this stuff. And they launch on Polish market and without researches and so on. In the end, like after 3 months, they spend huge money there and without results. So really like this thinking about by the expansion which market is right, and in that help like what we see that some startups they do homework, really do the research, because they want to do it, but without the research, and research can save them. Yeah, it's time-wise, like it requires a time, but money-wise it will save them a lot of money once they do the big research which market they should go on, like the next one.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, there has been a sort of interesting discussion this week in a couple of the panels about sort of attracting more investment, right? Yes, the discussion has been mostly about the big investors, institutional investors, and so on. But what you can see nowadays, well, in Czech Republic, but also in many other countries that are affected by the rising inflation, is that a lot of people, retail investors, are thinking of starting to invest, first-timers. Now, one of the topics that has been raised is whether some of these products, investments that are not only, right, not that it would not be important that you safeguard your money, but that they have, also something extra, right? There is some impact of that investment, whether that cannot be sort of another driver for first-time investors to select some of these investments. Now, do you feel that that could be a driver to get, more also retail money into into sort of, financing such whether it is startups, or any other ways how companies that have some ESG goals can be financed.
Yeah, true. Crowdfunding platforms are a way to do so. Under a crowdfunding platform, any retail investor can put their money into a product or a business that is fundraising via a crowdfunding platform. But what happens in Western Europe and in the United States, this is a way to really offer a sustainable startup or scale up to the wider public, wider investing public, meaning the retail investors. So yeah, there are ways, there are solutions. Money is still there, although, as you said, the particular situation that we are now in, with this inflation raising up and geopolitical tensions, will maybe cool down a little bit the investing climate. We might not see another record year this year in terms of money flowing into sustainable startups, although I would like to see it and not have this positive trend broken or postponed for a little. But yeah, it's always dynamic. You cannot just say it will be like that in the following years. But the positive trends in terms of the need, again, the demand for sustainable solutions and products is there, and it will be there to stay. Yeah.
Have you yourself maybe brainstormed, whether
that would be a way? It's thank you very much for this question, because I have a little bit different opinion. I fully agree, but involve people, public people, it means education. Mm-hmm. So from my point of view, this involvement is crucial, because we can educate them about possibilities, about new technologies, about new trends, because it's not easy, because technological development is much faster than our behavior. So people right now is the biggest barrier for changes. So from my point of view, because I'm sociology, for me it's education process and learning process.
If I may add, I agree with this education, and back to the age diversity, currently we are getting older and older, and Europe is one of the oldest continents, the age pyramid is not pyramid anymore, but there is kind of, this kind of shape where the biggest line is around 40 to 45. And we really have to talk about, yeah, there is demand, but there is just the first, people, and the people who are, again, on which side, they are educated, they have well better incomes, because, sustainability solutions, they cost money, and we know why. But we don't bring it to the mass while we don't educate and why that should be done. And that's a lot about reskilling and upskilling, right? Because based on also World Economic Forum, they are defined these future skills. And that should be something that we should focus also on, not just, about the capital and so, but I completely agree with the education and awareness part. We can call it also the awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, I did have, a sort of follow-up question at you, Zuzana, regarding that, because I know you're also interested in why maybe fewer women are investing in general. And it is our experience as well that at BrikkApp we do have a great number of women who are investing, but still, it would not be our typical user. So that would still be definitely more men. There are all sorts of discussions on why that is the case, but if you should maybe point one or two reasons, anything that could be done, or if it even should be done.
Yeah, for sure it should be done, because we talk about, it's not just about the products, but to who we product market and who is the final consumer. And women, they are doing 80% of consumer these decisions. So they are buying the products, and sometimes the startups and the developers of the products, they don't have them within the team. So there is a mismatch between what are the needs of the consumer, and they are not, within the team. So we have to think about that, that also women are consuming the products, and that's why they should be also next to the cap tables and investing. As well, they own the capital, and there are many reasons why women should invest. Like when we see the data, we work less years because of maternity leave. We live longer. We usually have, there is a pay gap worldwide. It will take 250 years plus to have the same salary on the same position for men and women. So all these reasons are signs that women should start invest. And what are the main barriers? And I will get back to education, but the education is one of the biggest barriers. There was a research on a Czech platform that is called Fondy, and they did research among their users. And actually, there is no difference. Men and women have the same level of education, but men were the ones who were trying and learning by doing. And women have the barrier, I have to learn and I have to investigate what to do, how to do, and they were not actually investing. So kind of as well, what is the call to start? The first investment most probably will be not the best investment, but they will come by learning. So I would say the education about also the diversification. And yeah, so that's one of the biggest, what I would say, and as well, like what we are trying to do, democratization, on the capital, to give less barriers to enter the capital.
Oh, this is a key topic for us as well, and since we have a very minimum amounts that people can start investing with, and then one of the advices we give is, well, just try it, right? It's such a small amount of money that, what is going to happen? It's like one dinner or something, not even, right? So, I just try it, but definitely there is much more, risk aversion to just starting and maybe not believing whether it is the right choice. Now, on the startup founder side, would you feel that there is more women who are founding startups that have some positive impact, or would it be fairly similar?
We see more such investment proposals coming from female-founded startups, and this is definitely a positive trend as well. I wouldn't say it's a mass thing, It's just emerging, but it maybe shows that women are also brave. Not that the men are braver to be willing to try and fail fast and learn from mistakes. So I would not put a very huge difference between the genders here, and definitely we like to see such proposals coming towards our deal flow, and we like to research such proposals as well. Currently, we haven't invested yet in a female-founded startup, but we are very much positive that there will be such in the very near future.
All right. How about you, Vaclav?
We haven't invested in a female-founded startup yet either. However, we are getting a few, not many, but a few interest and proposals from startups funded by women or who have women in their founders or top management board. I think it's definitely a benefit because women are more empathetic, they care more for details. Maybe they are not that risk-oriented as men, so I think the balance is probably ideal.
Maybe if I may add some data, we participated last year in CEE funding report. Maybe some of you came across it. And in 2020, among all startups, there was just 1% of startups female-founded who got investment. 5% was by mixed, and the rest were for male founders. So we see, and actually, like we are a female angel club, but we invest also in diversity, in mixed. But we are naturally approached by women because when I was telling about the fit, they sometimes don't find understanding among, you know, like venture capitals that are more male-dominated. There was one startup founder, she was creating second-hand marketplace with fashion, something like Vinted, you know, the unicorn. And she got feedback from the jury that they buy just one pair of jeans once per 4 years. Or we heard from Norwegian founders that it's all about phishing solutions there. So what I was saying, that we really need to change also the side of the ecosystem, because sometimes it's not conscious, but unconsciously, they can be the selection, you know, or more male founders than women founders. It sometimes doesn't happen on. There is also, if I may add, like one case study from Boston Orchestra. You know, they started consciously think about their biases. There was just 3% of female in 30 years last century, and they realized they're biased, and now it's currently about 40% of women, and the candidates had to actually perform behind some wall, so they don't see if there is a man or woman. So, and there is already like solutions how like this also in evaluating venture or evaluating startups. So I see that the change must be not just and waiting for the, you know, the startups, but the change must be also done on the investing side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Now, it has been mentioned a couple of times during other discussions this week that, of course, the more role models, the more positive examples you do see. And, you know, whether it is women-led startups or whether it is startups that have some positive social and environmental impact, then the more you kind of believe, you know, that it can work, no matter, you know, which of the criteria we are now talking about. So let's maybe move on now to the positive examples. Now we have, well, one here with us. So I'd like to ask you first. What do you believe that were maybe some of the success factors for you? What would you advise, you know, maybe someone who would be thinking, maybe not exactly about the same, but, you know, something similar. Yeah, what do you believe to help you succeed?
Right now is extremely positive approach to diversity. It means that, for example, EIC Accelerator, this is European Accelerator, is strongly support women-leading companies, and the same positive discrimination is worldwide. So from my point of view, it's very good because women really need support and help. And regarding my advices, from my point of view, the biggest mistake is in financing, business model, business plan, realistic business plan. So if you would like to create a successful startup, definitely you need some financial expert. Without this expertise, it's not possible to succeed, because money is the language with investor. It's not about only vision and purpose and nice slides, but definitely it's about money, about financing. And startups are more focusing on ideas and reasons why than for financing. The second advice is go-to-market strategy. A realistic go-to-market strategy from the starting point, because the biggest mistake is the gap between ideas and reality. And startups would like to push their ideas instead to be realistic. And the third advice is that reason-wise is the most powerful engine worldwide, and if you would like to create something and you have enough reasons why and personal energy, you will succeed.
Great. So in terms of the companies that you have invested in, so what would be some of the stories that are close to your heart, an example or two of the startups that are helping change the world?
What are you looking for, like in terms of what works or what doesn't work?
In terms of some maybe concrete examples of what they are focusing on.
So the type of companies that we've invested in. We've invested in two companies in health tech, and then we have two more companies in green tech, and then the latest investment is in a 3D technology that's scanning the object, and it's scanning it using not photogrammetry, but its own technology into the metaverse and in augmented reality. So it's actually helping when you're shopping online. It's helping you get the better experience, let's say, of the shoe. You can try it out, you can look at it, and then you can better decide if you want to buy it or not. And then you not only it increases the e-commerce metrics in terms of conversions, but also it decreases refunds. So it's very, very interesting from the perspective of what you can actually measure with carbon footprint, for example.
All right, sounds interesting. How about you, Hristo? Would you have a story?
We have just made our first investment. We're pretty young fund, but we are on the way of closing another 2 transactions soon. The thing that we've already done is in the domain of public transportation. It's an enabling technology, making the use of public transportation easier and making it possible for city transportation agencies to optimize the public transportation, because we believe that it can be a big game changer in terms of carbon emissions to really make it easier for people to leave the cars and go to use the public transport. There are many other factors affecting this choice, but you know, when it's easy to catch a bus or train, why not doing it? The other things that we are looking at in terms of innovation, some of them are disruptive, others are just incremental. Some of them, as I said, are enablers, others are direct impact generators. Very interesting project or solution that we are looking at currently is a completely new mode of transportation. On ground, with the speed that can be you know, compared to the speed of plane. And other things like in the materials domain, in the clean energy, of course, within this urban sustainability context again. Again, interesting proposals coming in each day into our deal flow. I really can speak for hours about them, but this is really good news that people are trying to, I mean, entrepreneurs are trying to really find proper, efficient solutions for the increasing demand of sustainable technologies.
Now, Zuzana, would there be any concrete story of, since you do connect, right, angel investors with ideas?
Yeah, like from our, like we are also quite new, but we so far did 5 investments, and 4 of them were, you know, like having the sustainability aspect, because as I said, like I really believe that each of the business should have it, not just, you know, climate tech or sustainable tech. One of them is Israeli health tech that focus on ADHD among children by measuring through smart devices, and it's really interesting. And what we actually had to do is once we were sending it to the female angels, as few of our angels or some of our angels are first-time angel investors, to really also, you know, kind of educate them that there is a long-term investment, because you know, health tech and medtech, we all know that it's a highly regulated market. The next one is, as I said already, the pet tech that has a raw food, the packaging-wise, the sustainability. It's a subscription model, so you got one package and you return one package. And last but not least is actually a Dutch startup that is second-hand marketplace for bikes. So they are decreasing while not using the cars, but as well, there is a huge market in Netherlands. If you have been there, like for biking and getting a bike once you move in. So these are the startups we invested that have the sustainability aspect.
Mm-hmm. All right, great. Now we have touched upon before on some of the differences between the regions, countries. Now this discussion has been going for quite some time, right? I do believe definitely that there has been great improvements. If I compare the situation with where we are now, with about 10 years ago, it's even the little things, right? Just the number of events and activities that are happening, how things are perceived, how the word startup is even perceived. I think there has been a lot of positive development, but do you feel that there is something from maybe the ecosystem perspective that could be done, that if you could change that or suggest, what would it be that you would suggest to anyone that maybe has some kind of decision-making capacity from this perspective? It's a hard question.
Yeah, it's a little bit the chicken and the egg problem. What has to be first? Is it the startup, community, or the investment side of it, or the advisors, or some public policy? For instance, when we started Urban Impact Ventures like 2 years ago, we started with a big ambition to be a really pan-European impact investor. We're based both in the Netherlands and Bulgaria, where I come from. But we saw quickly that there are really big difference in terms of ecosystem development. And for venture capitalists, it's really important to have a viable, vibrant ecosystem to choose from, many interesting opportunities. It's definitely the case right now. Western Europe has a lot more hubs, a lot more ecosystems, local, national, in terms of sustainability, unlike Central and Eastern Europe or Southeastern Europe. So it takes time. It will really be good to see more events, more, we spoke a lot about education mentality. I fully agree with that. This is the key, that bottom-up approach of, creating demand starts with the change in the mentality, changing your behavior, both in terms of consumption and in terms of, trying to make a business into that field. So a question that cannot be answered directly in a straight way, many factors, but I think time will show how fast this process will really develop in our region, in Central and Eastern Europe. There are good things to happen.
Well, for sure. So would there be any recommendation from your side to whether it is policymakers or the financial sector that would make your life easy?
Yeah, definitely, because it's based on my experience. So from the global point of view, I see how important is regulation. Because regulation in Europe is increasing innovation worldwide. For example, in case of replacement of microplastics, and a lot of issues are regulated in EU, and the world has been regulated later. So it's very important because it's key driver for investors, because if it's something regulated, you have no another option how to do it. But my experience is that in ecosystem, which colleague mentioned, play key role big brands. Because startups have ideas, investors have money, but big brands have power and demand. So from my point of view, based on my experience with 100 plus accelerator, I see how important is the role of big brands because we will have more than 100 world-class investors in our demo day in New York, because it's very safety for investors. If Coca-Cola or Unilever or Colgate choose some startups and spend a lot of money and energy with them, the product or technology or solution definitely will have demand. So big brands, big players are the most important. From my point of view, governments are not so important because it's not about government. It's about ecosystem. It's important, but it's not the most important.
I think it's very easy to critique, but to add to that, government is probably not going to play the key factor, but it can at least get out of the way in terms of bureaucracy, which I think for a lot of I'm not talking about regulation on the state level or European level, but bureaucracy with like starting business, getting funding, and there is a lot of challenges which I think, especially in Czech, may be not necessary really. So if we can decrease that, I think that would be great of help. And speaking of brands, that actually is very interesting, because I think what would also help is, and it's getting started here in Czech as well, is if big brands such as Coca-Cola and so on step in and start working with the education sector. Yeah. And when that interlinks, you start to get ideas from research and development that actually have a base in a real marketplace. So I think that if those two factors can keep happening, that it will help the entire ecosystem, because then the later stages are working very well.
If I may add, like, sure, like it's needed for a bigger change or fastened change to have all, you know, like impact sector, startup sector, corporate sector, and government sector, like, you know, working together. But we know of this, it's super difficult. But, you know, like we have some SDGs 2030 that are defined by the United Nations that were defined in this way, kind of the mastermind. But like when you see on the country level, like none of the country or some of the countries are working actively with SDGs, but in our region there are few of them, right? So really think about like how each country, or maybe like can organize some of the similar mastermind as these goals were created, and how they can be grasped within the country itself. It's super needed, because yeah, we see big brands that are showcasing in their sustainability. You know, the CSR departments don't exist anymore. They are changed to sustainability and they focus on SDGs. But it's, and yeah, they should start, because when we discuss them, like they have huge power also in consumer marketing. You know, like showcasing why to have more sustainable solution to all consumers, like on all, you know, possible medias, it's super necessary. So I would say like, yeah, it is difficult, but like once we do, and it's smaller steps and changes that can, you know, faster the whole process to get there.
All right, thanks a lot, everyone. And now we do have a couple of questions from the audience, and if anyone else would like to also ask, please do still send your questions using Slido. Now, the first question that we have here is. What would help to attract the best brains into R&D applications focused on climate tech? Now, anyone here being on the hiring side of things, attracting talent and... finding it hard or easy?
From my point of view, it's opportunity and money. So if the big brands bring opportunity for talents and money for their work, they can attract really the best talents worldwide, because it's question of power and it's about go-to-market. If you cooperate with big brands, with big presence on the markets, it's much easier to do something and go to market with them.
I believe you yourself, you will be attracting talent, right, to a new center in Ostrava. So would you be looking also for international talent or more locally?
International talent as well, but it's not easy. And it's necessary to say that talents are very specific or have very specific personality. It's definitely not easy to put talent into the team. And it's necessary to have talent management program, and it's one of the pillars of our success. We have more than 5 chief scientists below 30. Yeah, so we create for them really great opportunity.
Awesome. Well, I think attracting talent nowadays is extremely difficult for all sorts of industries.
It's about, Zuzana mentioned, it's about the reason why, it's about purpose. Because talent can receive money anywhere. So it's really about strong ideas, how to change the world, how we can create better world.
And if I may add, also I think that the HR, we see more and more solutions within HR, kind of HR tech or talent management tech, and this is what is also should be disrupt, because and again I will get back to the age diversity. We said all the facts, we are getting older, there is new generation, Generation Z, that is more global citizen, and they really, for them, the impact is the world, one of the, world #1, and they are born global citizens. So we really have to rethink some of the processes. Let's talk about internship. Why the internship should be just for, graduates? Why is not internship for 50 plus to reskill and upskill them? Or for mothers coming from maternity leave? Because one of the, thing why, for example, companies are searching for new talent, but not operating with what they have. And around, in big corporations, parents on maternity or paternal leave is around 30%. And there is sometimes it's no reason that they don't return to the company, but the company itself, they like that, but they maybe want to change the career. So why not have internship for them? So I would say that I really think the process of not just the hiring, as is the first part of the employee life cycle, but the whole, the education, career shift, how to help to succeed them, how to mentor them. So all these kind of, processes can help. There is a program called reverse mentoring, which is, that junior employees mentor senior employees, for example, in some technology, in car manufacturing company, it can be, to get a particular example, e-mobility. And on the other side, the more senior employees mentor the junior one, and they are proof examples that these millennials, with this name that they leave after 2 years, they stay longer because they see how they can progress within the company thanks to this mentoring. So really, don't think about just the hiring, but the whole process, what we can change to really attract the talent.
All right. Now, there's a question possibly for the VCs here. Doesn't a 10 years investment horizon disqualify some companies from VC funding, like products with a long research phase? Now, we have touched upon this a little bit during the discussion. So what would be your opinion? Is that a disqualification factor?
Well, it very much depends on how further in its journey is the company that is looking for capital. There are different stages of product and business development, and there are different investors for the different stage. We touched upon the patient capital concept that is getting more popular nowadays. The standard VC horizon is definitely 10 years plus 1 or 2 more of extension if necessary. Maybe this thing will also change. But again, it's a case by case. It depends very much on the VC approach. Again, VCs are focusing on various stages. There are early stage, very early stage VCs like seed funds. There are also growth funds. And then comes the private equity, which has a much larger horizon than the standard VC fund. I don't think that this is a big problem to fund or finance, great products, great technologies.
All right. What about you, Vaclav? If a startup tells you that in 10 years we'll get there, what would be your answer?
It's difficult. It comes down to knowing your partners. It will be a long runway, if it's, let's say, 10 or more years, it will be an issue for a lot of venture capital companies. But if you are working in, let's say, we analyze a lot of health tech and med tech, and they come to us and they will tell us that they talk to the big recognized VC funds in Czech, and they said them no, because they don't know how to do due diligence in that. They don't understand it. It's too difficult for them, and it takes too long to the market. So it's important to find someone who is on the same side as you, or same line, and understands that there is a phase. But again, for example, what we are doing, I see our capital as something that helps a company that has a product. So, for example, if there is a long term, it wouldn't be a good fit for us, where we have a strategy, and our strategy is investing in MVP products that are tested on the marketplace. So, as was already said, you have to analyze what is the strategy of that fund who you're approaching. To put it simply in other terms, if you're raising seed, you're not going to go to a company that invests only in Series A. So you should find someone who is a good fit. If you are in sustainability, ideally an impact investment venture capital company, and if you have a lot of R&D heavy development, then you should make it clear and look for partners who are happy about it, for whom it's not an issue.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for that. Now, we have one more question that touches upon the role of academia in this area. Now, we have talked about the role of education, and quite often I do feel that the academia here locally maybe is not always involved in the debate as much as it possibly could be. So our question is, how do you see the CEE academic scene when it comes to creating tech hubs and spaces where new tech startups can arise?
We have a lot of cooperations in academia because we are part of Horizon Europe, and each project is consortium between academia and companies. So it's crucial. The level of research fully depend on the level of universities and Academy of Science and other institutions, and the level is in Central Europe is very good or excellent. So it's definitely one of the pillars of the success. What is very difficult is to create long-term cooperation, and in our case, we have guerrilla system. It's not official because it's not possible due to a lot of reasons, but we establish real ecosystem between company and universities, and it's running excellent. And it's really very important, but as I mentioned, it's definitely very, very, very difficult.
Well done. What about the rest of you? Do you feel we can involve academia more?
If I may add, I surely think that our region is great, with the skills. That's why, for example, also a lot of companies, American one or US one or Western Europe have here, their IT centers. But when we should discuss also the other areas and other verticals, what I really think that we should work is on brain drain. Yeah, they are great universities, and more and more of them have these accelerators, have the program connected, the dual education, or I don't know how to say that in English, but it's doing with the skills or project-based education, right? That's what should be done more and more, the reform of the education, and really prevent the brain there, because the top talent is still fleeting or going to the other countries, to the UK market, the US market, Western Nordics, Europe, and we are really losing on that because of and losing the kind of the battle of within the academia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Do you cooperate maybe on the VC side in any way with academia, or many universities have now startup hubs or similar?
Yeah, we have partnership with one university in Ostrava, and but we don't do much cooperation as a VC fund. However, a lot of the portfolio startups that we have, some of them actually come from academia. And they have a lot of cooperation in terms of maybe having their R&D team working there in the academic space, or people on the team who work there. So I believe it's definitely possible. And I think that actually what I said before is very important to have big brands start setting up this trend. That will definitely help.
Mm-hmm. All right. How about you?
Well, we have an advisor to our fund who comes from the academia. So I believe the science and the academia is very important when we speak about sustainability. And if we look at all the scientific proof that is already there about things like climate change, about other social issues that we face, we would have a better society in general. So academia plays a key role at each level, I believe. In setting like university entrepreneurship programs, if you draw comparison with the US, there are even seed funds that belong to some universities that are making the first capital injection into ideas that have been born within this university or entrepreneurial hub created there. So we can easily, maybe not so easily, but we can take a good example and try to do something like that in Europe, especially in Central and Eastern Europe. Academia is important, definitely.
All right, great. So since we are almost out of time, I would like to give each of you an opportunity in just one sentence only to share one thought. So imagine that you have a sort of a magic wand, if you wish, yeah? And you can solve one, social or environmental problem, yeah? Of your choice. You have a magic wand, yeah? So you can solve anything, anything you'd like, anything you wish. What would it be? What would be that one problem, one issue that you would like to see magically solved?
Ladies first.
I have a lot of possibilities, but my choice will be toxic, heavy toxic ingredients in cosmetics, which are destroying ecosystems right now. And only reason why we don't have replacement is money. Because it's the new solution, biodegradable, biocompatible, is more expensive than current.
Thank you.
For me, it's connected with food consumption, because like we invest money in in car we buy, but sometimes we don't think what we eat, but we actually our body works from what we get in, and it's connected also with cosmetics. But that's why like you really this food consumption and all all these vegan, vegetarian, not just that, but rather really thinking about like the qualitative food production that is not destroying also the nature. Yes.
Thank you.
I was going to say food as well, but since you were the first, I would say it would be like something with nature, to stop destroying it, because it's affecting us, right? So everything not just the cosmetics we use, the food and the water, but everything that comes from the nature. So that's why we focus a lot on water and air, on the cleanness of it and purification, because just from air, 99% of population breathe like polluted air, and we have about 6 million people a year who die because of pollution. And if we could change that to just disappear, that would be perfect. And I believe the startup community will.
Thank you.
I would definitely change mentality. This is the foundation of everything.
All right. So thanks a lot, everyone, for your last thoughts. I know it's hard to pick just one, so you did a great job. So thank you, everyone, for coming. Thanks to our panel. That was really wonderful. So thanks a lot.